Most designers charge way too little for their work and then wonder why they're stressed about money. But here's the thing, your pricing isn't just about survival, it defines your entire business. Hey there, I'm Mark Cotes, and I've been running my design business for over 2 decades. And today, I am breaking down the 5 pricing strategies that actually work and showing you which one you should be using right now. When you work at an agency, someone else sets your price. You show up, you do the work, and you collect a paycheck. But the second you go solo, you have to figure it out all yourself. And I get it, that's intimidating. Here's what most designers don't realize. Your pricing strategy is the difference between landing great clients and spending all day fighting with difficult ones. Think about it like this. If you hire a handyman to fix your house, you're going to micromanage him the whole time. But if you hire a general contractor, you pay more, but you trust them to get it done right. Your clients do the same thing. The more they pay you, the more they trust you. And the pricing strategy you choose determines how much they trust you and how much you charge them. Let's start with the simplest one, hourly rates. Simple. You figure out your rate, you track your time, you charge accordingly. This is where you should start if you're new and unsure on what to do. And honestly, even if you don't plan on billing by the hour, you should still have an idea of what your hourly rate is, since other pricing methods kind of build off of it. But here's the tricky part. In calculating your rate, your location matters, your cost of living matters, your overhead matters, but here's the mistake almost every designer makes. They only count their billable hours when determining their rate. Say you work 40 hours a week, but maybe you're only billing 15 of those hours. The rest is admin work, emails, invoicing, following up with clients, and other business-related things. Well, if your rate is, and let's just keep it a nice even number, say $50 an hour, then 15 billable hours at $50 per hour is $750 per week. Now you divide that by 40 hours, and you're only making $18.75 per hour. If you don't charge high enough to cover those non-billable hours, you're actually losing money. So if you want a comfortable income, your hourly rate needs to be high enough to spread across all 40 hours, not just the 15 you're actually designing and billing for. And I'm going to be straight with you. Whatever rate you're thinking of right now, it's too low. Most designers undervalue themselves. The honest truth is, raising your rates won't cost you as many clients as you think. People are afraid that if they raise their rates, clients will leave them. In fact, if you raise them by 20 to 30%, and if you give clients a warning that you're going to raise them, almost all your clients will stick around. It's only if you double or triple your price that, say, things get a little bit messy. So the pros of hourly rates is its simplicity. You charged a fixed rate based on the time you spend on a project. The cons, however, are that clients won't know what they're paying until the project is done. And some may worry that you're taking your time in order to charge them more. Next up is cost plus pricing. And this one's mainly for products, not necessarily services. But if you do any print brokering or outsourcing of work, or you have packages, maybe you could pay attention to this one. And the math is simpler. You take the actual cost plus a markup, and that's your price. So say you're doing some print brokering. You find out the production costs, how much the print job will cost. You add your time coordinating it with the printer and all that. And then you add your markup. And that's what you charge the client. Easy. Now the pros is it's straightforward. You know exactly what the job costs you, so you know exactly what the profit is that you'll make. Full cost coverage, no surprises. But here's where it breaks down. Costs then creep up. If you set up, say, a fixed price, like this is how much business cards will cost you to have printed, and then your printer raises the price, or paper gets more expensive, or fuel charges hit, and if you're not actively watching what's happening and adjust what you're being charged, and in turn adjust what you're charging your client, your profit margins shrink without you even noticing it. So you got to keep on top of what you are being charged as well. Now, the cons is this doesn't really work for services like design. So yeah, cost plus can work for print jobs, products, and packages that you're reselling. But for design services, there are much better options. Let's move on to competitor-based pricing. Now, this one is tempting. Just find out what your competition charges and match it or beat it. When I first started my design business, I based my own prices on what my old employer charged. The reason this method is popular is that it's so easy to do. You have somebody contact your competitor for a quote, you find out what their price is, you adjust yours slightly, and you're done. But here's the problem. You're building your business on someone else's math. What if their pricing is broken? What if it's not working for them? What if they're barely surviving? What if their overhead is way lower than yours? Maybe, I don't know, maybe they inherited their house and they don't have a mortgage, and you do. Maybe their spouse makes a lot of money, so their own income isn't as crucial to them as it is to you. You don't know. You're also comparing apples to oranges because no two designers are the same. Your skill set is different. Your experience is different. Why would you price like somebody completely different from you? And it gets worse. If every designer in your area does this, looks at each other's prices and maybe just undercuts slightly, you're creating a death spiral. Prices keep dropping and nobody can sustain their business. You're all slowly bankrupting each other. So the pros of competitor-based pricing is it requires almost zero thought. That's it. It's the only pro. The cons, you could be losing money. Your competition could be using the same strategy and basing their prices on somebody else, creating a loop that tanks the entire market. And worst of all, your competition ends up controlling how much your business can grow. So you can use this one early if you really need to, but please don't stay here too long. It'll only cost you in the long run. Now, before we move on to the final two pricing strategies, please take a second to click that subscribe button and that notification bell. I share tips, strategies, and resources every week that help build more profitable design businesses. Next, we're talking about the strategy most designers actually use, and that's project-based pricing. Instead of charging by the hour, you estimate the total cost of a design project upfront and give the client a fixed price. Here's how it works. You estimate how long a project will take, maybe multiply that by your hourly rate. Then, and this is crucial, you pad it. You add extra hours because you know something unexpected will happen. More revisions than you expected, delays, something. There's always something that happened. So in my case, I always add, say, 50%. If you think a job will take 10 hours, I'm billing for 15. If I think it'll take 50 hours, I'm billing for 75. But you don't quote the number of hours to your client, you're just quoting the total price. Now, I just suggested basing it on your hourly rate that I said earlier you should have whether you use hourly billing or not. But some people just make up the number. You're going to do a website, it's going to cost you $3,000. I don't know how long it'll take, but it's going to cost you $3,000 or $5,000 or $8,000 or $10,000. But it's a fixed price. Now, you can also, if you are calculating all this, you can use that cost plus pricing that I mentioned earlier and add anything else that might affect the price. Will there be travel time? Are you going to have to go visit the client? Well, that's stuff you should add in. Do you imagine that you're going to use stock photos, or are you going to have to get a photo shoot, hire a photographer to come in? All those are things you need to calculate up front before giving your price. Do you need to purchase fonts for this project? Do you need to purchase plugins or any other assets, something to complete the project? So you need to calculate all these extras, then you add your markup and you add them to the price, and that becomes a total. And if your estimate is solid, you make way more money this way than you would if you build on an hourly basis. Now, why do clients love it this way? It's because they know exactly what they're paying before they say yes. There's no surprise, and that's huge. So the pros are obvious. Higher profit potential if you estimate well. Clients know the cost up front, and you can build standardized packages. Clients love that. They love the certainty. But the cons are real too. If you guess wrong, you may lose money. And the bigger the project, the harder it is to estimate accurately. If a 100-hour project ends up taking you 200 hours and it's not the client's fault, that's on you. You just ate 100 hours of work. Plus, if the price is too high that you're putting out there, you may lose the job to cheaper competitors. It's a balance. But project-based pricing is probably the most common method designers use. And for good reason. It works and it makes money. And that brings us now to the holy grail, value-based pricing. It's also the hardest. I ran my business for over a decade before finally getting comfortable enough to try it. So here's the fundamental difference. You're not pricing based on your time or your costs. You're pricing based on what the client will actually get out of the work you're doing, not the work itself, what they get out of the work you're doing. Let me give you a real example. I'm looking for a new winter jacket. It's winter right now here in Canada, and I can go to one of the big box stores and pay $125 for a jacket. Or I can go to one of those boutique or specialty shops and get a designer jacket for, say, $600 or more. Now, which one I choose depends entirely on the value that I want to place on that jacket. If I just want something to keep me warm and I don't care what it looks like, $125 is just fine for a jacket. But if I want to look good and have people compliment on my style, the $600 jacket makes much more sense. That's value-based pricing. The price is determined by what the client values, not what the work costs you. Think about Pepsi. Way back in 2008, they paid $1 million to redesign their logo. You think the design team charged $1 million in time? No way. But Pepsi was willing to pay that because of the value that the new logo would bring to their brand. They believed it would make them money. And you know what? They were right. Now here's where it gets practical. 2 clients come to you for a logo design. One is a retired couple that decided to open a little mom and pop corner store to pass the time in their retirement. The other is a national chain of convenience stores looking to rebrand. Doesn't it make sense to charge the national chain more? They'll get way more value out of a new design. They'll reach way more people and they'll make way more money from it. So why should you charge them the same as what you charge Betty and Bob for their corner store? So the pros, if you get value pricing right, you make the most money. Your clients pay for the value of what they get, not the work that costs you. Now the cons is you have to do research. You can't just pull a number out of the air. You need to understand your client's business, their goals, their vision, and what they actually gain. And if you guess wrong, you will lose the bid. There are no perfect formula for value-based pricing. You are reading people, understanding their situation, and that takes skill and that takes experience. And that's why it took me a long time before I started getting comfortable and using this more and more. And now I do it on a regular basis. So here's what I want you to take away from all of this. As graphic designers, we don't just use one method. We use a mixture of all of them. If you're brand new, start with hourly rates. Set your rate, build your portfolio, get comfortable with pricing conversations. And then, as you get more experienced and your reputation grows, explore other methods. Maybe you use project-based pricing for your bread and butter clients because they love the certainty. And maybe you use value-based pricing for the bigger fish that you go after. When I started my business, I charged the same rate as my local print shop that I just left. But about a year in, I raised my rates by 40%. I became one of the most expensive designers in my area. And you know what? My business didn't suffer. It actually got better. Clients saw the higher price and immediately thought that I must be better than the other designers in the area. And they wanted the best. So I wasn't just making more money per hour. I was also getting better clients and higher quality projects. But here's the thing most designers miss. Pricing is a process. It's not a set it and forget it. You need to review your prices on a regular basis, at least once a year. Your costs change, your skills improve, markets evolve, your pricing should too. Pricing isn't just about survival. It defines your entire business. Get it right, and you attract better clients, make more money, and actually enjoy your work. What more can you ask for when running a design business? Until next time, stay creative.